The television courtroom had never witnessed such pure, unfiltered arrogance from someone so young. Madison Sterling, a 19-year-old daughter of tech billionaire Marcus Sterling, sat in Judge Judy's courtroom with the kind of entitled confidence that could only come from a lifetime of never hearing the word no. Her $5,000 Chanel handbag rested casually on her lap as she scrolled through her phone, completely ignoring the proceedings happening around her. Her designer outfit probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, and everything about her posture screamed that she believed she was above this whole process. She had no idea that in the next 8 minutes Judge Judy Scanlon would deliver a punishment so devastating, so historically brutal, that it would change her life forever and make her the most hated teenager in America overnight. What makes this story absolutely insane isn't just that Madison lost her case. It's not even that she got embarrassed on national television in front of millions of viewers. What Judge Judy did to this spoiled rich kid was so legally precise, so perfectly calculated, that it would cost Madison her $2.5 million trust fund, result in 200 hours of mandatory community service, get her banned from her exclusive country club, and trigger her own father to completely cut her off financially. The words that came out of Madison's mouth in a moment of pure arrogance would become the most expensive sentence she would ever speak, and the consequences would echo through her life for years to come. Madison had walked into that courtroom believing she was untouchable. After all, she was the daughter of a man worth $4.7 billion. She had an army of expensive lawyers on retainer. She had 2.3 million followers on Instagram who worshipped her lifestyle. She had spent 19 years getting away with absolutely everything, watching her father's money make every problem disappear like magic. Today was supposed to be just another easy victory, another chance to destroy a small business owner who had dared to challenge her, another opportunity to prove that wealth equals power and consequences are for poor people. She had even planned her victory post for social media, complete with the caption and carefully chosen emojis. She had brought friends to watch her win, to document her triumph over someone she considered completely beneath her. But what Madison didn't know was that Judge Judy had spent the previous night doing something the teenager had never experienced in her entire privileged life. Real work. Actual investigation. Judge Judy had reviewed every single one of Madison's social media posts going back 2 years. She had contacted 7 previous victims that Madison had destroyed with the exact same scam. She had obtained security footage, text messages, and police reports that proved Madison had been running a calculated pattern of fraud against small business owners for over 3 years. She had built a case so airtight, so thoroughly documented, that Madison's expensive lawyers wouldn't be able to save her. Judge Judy had spotted 17 different lies in Madison's initial paperwork before the girl even walked through the courtroom doors, and she was preparing to make an example out of this entitled teenager that would be remembered for generations. Before we show you the exact moment when Madison called Judge Judy an irrelevant boomer to her face and triggered the most legendary takedown in courtroom television history, you need to understand something critical. This isn't just entertainment. This is a masterclass in why respect matters, why accountability catches up with everyone eventually, and why thinking your father's money makes you immune to consequences is the most dangerous delusion a young person can have. Hit that like button right now if you're ready to see the most satisfying destruction of a spoiled rich kid ever captured on camera. Make sure you subscribe because what Judge Judy reveals about Madison's pattern of criminal behavior will absolutely shock you to your core. Trust me, the next 30 minutes will restore your faith in justice and prove that karma is not only real, but it has perfect timing and an excellent sense of irony. The courtroom was buzzing with its usual electric energy as cameras rolled live, capturing what everyone assumed would be another routine small claims dispute for millions of Americans to witness from their living rooms. Production assistants made their final checks, the bailiff took his position near the bench, and the audience settled into their seats expecting typical daytime television drama. Judge Judy reviewed her notes one final time, that slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth, the smile that experienced viewers recognized as the calm before a devastating storm. Nobody in that room had any clue they were about to witness the most viral courtroom moment in internet history, a moment that would be shared over 200 million times and studied in law schools as the perfect example of what happens when unstoppable arrogance meets immovable judicial authority. To understand the magnitude of what was about to unfold in that courtroom, you need to know exactly who these people were and what brought them to this explosive confrontation. Madison Sterling had spent her entire 19 years living in a bubble of wealth so extreme that it distorted her understanding of reality itself. Born into a 25,000 square foot mansion in Beverly Hills, she was the only child of Marcus Sterling, a tech billionaire whose company had made him one of the 50 richest people in America. Her mother had died when Madison was 12 years old, and her father, consumed by guilt and grief, had responded by giving Madison absolutely everything she wanted and shielding her from every possible consequence. Private schools where tuition cost more than most people's annual salary, private jets to vacation destinations, a 16th birthday party that cost $400,000, and a Black American Express card with no spending limit. By the time Madison turned 18, she had never been told no, never faced a consequence she couldn't buy her way out of, and never met a person she considered her equal. Madison's personality had been shaped by this toxic combination of unlimited wealth and zero accountability. She viewed the world through a lens where people were divided into two categories: those worth knowing because they had money or status, and everyone else who existed only to serve her needs. She had gone through 12 personal assistants in 2 years because she treated them with such contempt that they quit despite generous salaries. She had been kicked out of 3 private schools, not for academic reasons, but because even expensive institutions had limits on how much verbal abuse and entitled behavior they would tolerate from a student. Her Instagram account showcased a lifestyle of private jets, designer shopping sprees, exclusive parties and luxury vacations, and her 2.3 million followers consumed this content like it was aspirational rather than a warning sign of everything wrong with wealth without responsibility. She documented every moment of her life for social media validation, never considering that this digital trail would eventually become evidence of her pattern of destructive behavior. But what made Madison truly dangerous wasn't just her wealth or her arrogance. It was the calculated way she had learned to weaponize both against people who couldn't fight back. At 16, she had crashed a $200,000 Mercedes while texting and driving, then blamed the valet parking attendant and got him fired when her father threatened to sue the restaurant. At 17, she had bullied a classmate so mercilessly online that the girl attempted suicide, and when the family tried to hold Madison accountable, her father's lawyers made the problem disappear with a settlement and non-disclosure agreement. At 18, she had thrown a party at an Airbnb property and caused $85,000 in damage, destroying furniture, breaking windows and spray painting walls, and once again her father had simply written a check and made it go away without Madison facing any consequences. She had developed a pattern that would eventually bring her to Judge Judy's courtroom. She would commission custom work from small business owners, use or wear whatever they created, then return it damaged and demand a full refund while threatening lawsuits if they refused. Sophia Martinez represented everything Madison despised and everything that made America actually great. At 23 years old, Sophia was a first-generation college student whose parents had immigrated from Mexico when she was 5 years old. Her father worked in construction, her mother cleaned houses, and together they had sacrificed everything to give their children opportunities they never had. Sophia had worked 3 jobs while attending UCLA, studying fashion design and business management, dreaming of one day owning her own boutique. She started her online custom clothing business in her tiny apartment, working 16-hour days between classes and her other jobs, building something from nothing through pure determination and talent. Every dollar she earned went back into supplies, her family's bills, or her tuition. She had a 4.9-star rating across every platform because she treated every customer like they mattered, poured her heart into every custom creation, and believed that honest work and quality craftsmanship would eventually lead to success. When Madison Sterling had contacted Sophia's boutique requesting a custom designer dress for Coachella, Sophia had seen it as the breakthrough opportunity she had been working toward. A client with Madison's social media following could transform her struggling business overnight if Madison posted photos and tagged her work. Sophia had spent 60 hours creating a masterpiece, a custom dress that perfectly matched Madison's specifications, hand-stitching every detail and using the highest quality materials she could afford. The $1,200 price barely covered her costs and labor, but Sophia viewed it as an investment in her future. She had delivered the dress personally, watched Madison's face light up with genuine excitement, received text messages saying it was perfect and exactly what she wanted. Madison had worn it to Coachella, posted dozens of Instagram photos showing herself in the dress at various parties, tagged the location and her friends, and documented every moment of her weekend. The dress had been perfect, and Sophia had allowed herself to hope that this would be the moment her business finally took off and all her hard work would pay off. Then Madison returned the dress, and Sophia's dream turned into an absolute nightmare that would nearly destroy everything she had built. The package arrived at Sophia's apartment 4 days after Coachella, and when she opened it, her hands started shaking uncontrollably. The beautiful custom creation she had spent 60 hours perfecting was completely destroyed. Massive wine stains covered the front and back of the dress. The hand-stitched seams were torn in multiple places. Embellishments were missing. The fabric was stretched and damaged in ways that could only happen from extremely rough treatment. There was even what appeared to be a burn mark from a cigarette. This wasn't normal wear and tear from a single event. This was deliberate destruction, the kind of damage that happens when someone parties too hard and doesn't care about consequences because they never have to face them. Attached to the destroyed dress was a note from Madison written in her distinctive handwriting: "Defective product, demanding full refund immediately or my lawyers will be in touch." Sophia tried to handle it professionally. She called Madison, sent detailed emails with photos of the dress before delivery compared to after return, explained that the damage was clearly from misuse and not any defect in her work. Madison's response was to block her number, ignore her emails, and then escalate to threats. Within 48 hours, Sophia received a cease and desist letter from one of Marcus Sterling's corporate attorneys, written in dense legal language specifically designed to intimidate someone who couldn't afford to fight back. The letter demanded a full refund plus an additional $15,000 for what Madison claimed was emotional distress and damage to her influencer reputation. The letter threatened litigation, warned about damage to Sophia's credit and business, and made it absolutely clear that the Sterling family had unlimited resources to destroy her completely if she didn't comply immediately. But the legal threats were just the beginning of Madison's campaign of destruction. She posted a 1-star review on every platform where Sophia's business appeared, writing lengthy detailed lies about receiving a defective dress, being scammed by an incompetent designer, and warning everyone to stay away from this fraudulent business. She posted on her Instagram story to her 2.3 million followers, showing the destroyed dress and claiming Sophia had delivered it in that condition, deliberately leaving out the photos of herself wearing it perfectly at Coachella just days earlier. She posted Sophia's personal phone number and business address, and within hours Sophia was receiving dozens of threatening messages and phone calls from Madison's followers. She went to local Facebook groups and posted warnings about Sophia's business. She tagged Sophia in posts calling her a scammer and a fraud. She used every ounce of her social media influence to systematically destroy the reputation Sophia had spent years building through honest work and quality service. The impact on Sophia's life was absolutely devastating. Her business lost 40% of its orders within 2 weeks as potential customers saw the negative reviews and believed Madison's lies. She had to spend $8,000 she absolutely didn't have on a lawyer just to respond to the Sterling family's legal threats. She developed panic attacks and couldn't sleep, lying awake every night worrying about losing everything she had worked for. Her mother cried constantly, asking if they should just go back to Mexico where life might be simpler and safer. Her father picked up double shifts at his construction job to help with the mounting legal bills. Sophia's grades at UCLA started slipping because she couldn't concentrate on her studies while her entire world was collapsing around her. She lost 15 pounds from stress. She stopped going to classes because she was ashamed and afraid. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about her entire future, her family's sacrifices, and whether the American dream was even real for people like her. But Sophia possessed something that Madison's previous victims hadn't. She possessed stubborn determination born from watching her parents sacrifice everything for their children. She hired a private investigator with money she borrowed from her aunt, and that investigator discovered something that changed everything. Madison had done this exact same scam to 7 other small business owners over the past 3 years. Custom jewelry, designer shoes, photography services, makeup artists, hairstylists, every single one of them had the same story. Madison would hire them, love their work initially, use or wear whatever they created, then return it damaged or refuse to pay, demand refunds plus additional money, threaten lawsuits through her father's lawyers, and launch social media campaigns to destroy their businesses if they fought back. The investigator found text messages Madison had sent to friends before even receiving Sophia's dress, messages where she joked about her plan to wear it once and return it destroyed, laughing about scamming another small business owner and calling it easy money for free designer clothes. Sophia brought all this evidence to Judge Judy's producers, expecting nothing but hoping for a miracle. 3 weeks later, she received a call that made her hands shake with a mixture of terror and hope. Judge Judy herself had reviewed the case personally, and she wanted it on her show. The producer told Sophia something that gave her the first real hope she had felt in months. Judge Judy doesn't just hear cases, she investigates them, and when she finds fraud, she destroys it completely. The courtroom proceedings started exactly as Madison expected, which meant she treated them with complete contempt from the very first moment. Judge Judy opened with her signature no-nonsense approach, her voice cutting through the courtroom air with surgical precision. "Miss Sterling, you're suing Ms. Martinez for $15,000, claiming emotional distress and damage to your reputation. Ms. Martinez is countersuing for harassment and fraud. Let's start with you, Ms. Sterling. Tell me what happened with this dress. Madison didn't even look up from her phone initially, her fingers still scrolling through Instagram as if Judge Judy was just another annoying interruption to her day. When she finally responded, her voice dripped with the kind of casual condescension that made the audience members physically recoil. Yeah, so basically this girl made me a totally defective dress that fell apart after like one day. I paid her way too much money for garbage quality work, and now she's refusing to give me my refund and trying to make me look bad online. She accompanied this statement with dismissive hand gestures and an eye roll so dramatic that the cameras captured every degree of its arc. Judge Judy's first warning came swift and sharp. Miss Sterling, put your phone away. You're in my courtroom, not your bedroom. Madison's response was to let out an exaggerated sigh, the kind reserved for dealing with incompetent service workers who don't understand that her time is valuable. She made a show of slowly, reluctantly placing her phone face up on the table in front of her, then immediately glanced down at it when a notification lit up the screen. She muttered something under her breath to one of her friends sitting in the audience, and both of them giggled like they were sharing an inside joke about how ridiculous this whole situation was. Judge Judy's eyes narrowed slightly, that predator smile beginning to form at the corners of her mouth. She had seen this exact type of entitled defendant 1,000 times before, and she knew exactly how this performance was going to end. The interrogation began with Judge Judy asking seemingly simple questions, each one carefully designed to let Madison hang herself with her own contradictions and lies. How much did you pay for this dress? Madison answered with a shrug. Like $1,200 or something, I don't really remember exactly. Her tone suggested that $1,200 was such an insignificant amount that she couldn't be bothered to recall the precise figure. Did you inspect the dress when you received it? Madison nodded casually. Obviously, yeah. It looked okay at first, but then it just like fell apart after I wore it once. Judge Judy's follow-up was immediate. Where did you wear it? Madison's answer came too quickly without thinking. Just to some party, nothing crazy, just a normal event. She had no idea that Judge Judy already had her Instagram posts pulled up, showing her at Coachella wearing the dress perfectly while drinking champagne and dancing at multiple parties over an entire weekend. Sophia's turn to present her evidence was when the entire case began to shift in a way that even Madison couldn't ignore. Sophia stood with trembling hands and presented a timeline that was devastating in its thoroughness. Text messages where Madison had gushed about how perfect the dress was. Photos of the dress in pristine condition before delivery, with timestamps and metadata. Madison's own Instagram post showing her wearing the dress at Coachella, tagging the location, tagging her friends, documenting every moment of her weekend. Then the return photos showing the wine stains, the torn fabric, the missing embellishments, the cigarette burn. The contrast was so stark, so undeniable, that even Madison's friends in the audience stopped smiling. But Madison's response to being caught in an obvious lie wasn't shame or apology. It was escalation and anger. She started interrupting Sophia, talking over her testimony, making sarcastic comments loud enough for the microphones to pick up. She's lying, she photoshopped those, this is so dumb, can we just get to the part where I win? Judge Judy's patience, legendary for lasting longer than most judges would tolerate, finally reached its breaking point. Miss Sterling, these are your own Instagram posts. This is your own account. These are photos you posted yourself showing you wearing this dress in perfect condition. Then you returned it destroyed and blamed Ms. Martinez. Why should I believe a single word that comes out of your mouth? The question hung in the air like a guillotine blade, and Madison had a choice in that moment. She could admit fault, apologize, try to salvage whatever dignity she had left. Instead, she made the decision that would define the rest of her life and cost her absolutely everything. She stood up without permission, her face flushing red with anger and indignation, her finger pointing directly at Judge Judy as the words that would destroy her came pouring out in a torrent of entitled rage. You know what? Whatever, boomer. You're like totally irrelevant. You don't understand influencer culture or how the real world actually works anymore. My dad's lawyers are way more qualified than you'll ever be. This whole show is a joke, and honestly you should probably just retire because you clearly can't handle modern cases with modern people. Maybe go knit something and let actual professionals who understand current law handle real legal matters. The silence that followed was so complete, so profound, that it felt like the air itself had been sucked out of the courtroom. Judge Judy stood up from her chair, something she almost never did during proceedings, and the symbolism of that action was not lost on anyone in the courtroom. When Judge Judy stood, It meant something had transcended normal judicial boundaries and entered the realm of personal mission. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was calm and controlled, but carried the weight of absolute authority that had been earned through 25 years on the bench and 20,000 cases. "Miss Sterling, I'm going to give you one opportunity to apologize and sit down. One chance to show me that somewhere inside that entitled exterior is a human being capable of recognizing when they've made a catastrophic mistake." Madison's response was to cross her arms and smirk, actually smirk at Judge Judy, as if this warning was just another example of how out of touch the older generation was with reality. "For what? Telling the truth? No thanks, I'm good." She sat back down with exaggerated casualness, completely convinced that her father's lawyers would somehow fix whatever consequences might come from this confrontation. What happened next was 8 minutes of the most brutal, precise, and devastating judicial annihilation ever captured on television. Judge Judy opened a thick manila folder that had been sitting on her bench, marked with Madison's full legal name in bold red letters. "Miss Sterling, while you were busy calling me irrelevant and suggesting I go knit, I was doing something you've clearly never experienced in your 19 years of privileged existence. Actual work. Real investigation. Let me share with you what I've discovered about your pattern of behavior." She began pulling out documents one by one, each piece of evidence another nail in Madison's coffin. Instagram posts showing Madison wearing the dress in perfect condition at Coachella, posts that Madison herself had uploaded and tagged with locations and dates. Text messages between Madison and her friends from before she even received the dress, messages where she joked about her plan to wear it once and return it destroyed, laughing about scamming another small business and getting free designer clothes. Security footage from previous incidents showing Madison's pattern of behavior with other victims. But Judge Judy wasn't finished destroying Madison's lies. She revealed that she had contacted 7 other small business owners that Madison had targeted with the exact same scam over the past 3 years. A jewelry designer who created custom pieces that Madison wore once and returned damaged. A shoe boutique that made custom footwear that Madison claimed was defective after wearing to multiple events. A photographer whose work Madison loved and posted everywhere before demanding a refund claiming the photos were bad quality. A makeup artist Madison hired, praised initially, then refused to pay claiming an allergic reaction that never happened. Each story was identical in its cruelty and calculation. Madison would find small business owners, usually immigrants or young entrepreneurs struggling to build something, commission their work, use or wear what they created, then destroy them financially and reputationally when they tried to collect payment. Judge Judy read aloud from text messages where Madison had literally written to friends, "Found another small business to scam, this is so easy, Dad's lawyers will destroy her if she complains." The evidence was so overwhelming, so thoroughly documented, that Madison's confident smirk had completely disappeared, replaced by visible panic as she realized the trap she had walked into. Judge Judy's ruling was historic in its severity and precision. "Miss Sterling, I find in favor of the defendant on all counts. Not only do you receive nothing, but you owe Ms. Martinez $31,000, payable immediately. $15,000 for the fraudulent lawsuit you filed against her. $8,000 to reimburse her legal fees that she had to pay defending herself against your lies. $5,000 in punitive damages for your harassment campaign on social media. $3,000 additional damages for defamation. Furthermore, I am referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for Criminal Fraud Investigation, to the Federal Trade Commission for Wire Fraud, and to the California State Attorney General. You will also complete 200 hours of community service at a legal aid clinic helping small business owners fight against predatory lawsuits exactly like the ones you've been filing. You're 19 years old, Miss Sterling. Old enough to vote, old enough to be held accountable for your actions. Your father's money can't save you from this ruling. Your social media followers can't save you from community service. And your trust fund can't buy back the reputation you just destroyed on national television. Case dismissed. Get out of my courtroom." The transformation in Madison was instant and complete. The confident, smirking teenager who had called Judge Judy irrelevant was suddenly sobbing uncontrollably, her carefully applied makeup running down her face in dark streaks. "Wait, you can't do this. My father will sue you. This isn't legal. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." But Judge Judy's response was final and merciless. "Now you're sorry. Now you want to apologize. The time for sorry was before you opened your disrespectful mouth." Madison was escorted out of the courtroom by the bailiff, still sobbing, still begging, her phone slipping from her shaking hands and crashing to the floor with a screen-shattering crack that served as a perfect metaphor for her destroyed image. Within 1 hour of the episode airing, The clip had already hit 3 million views on social media. Within 24 hours, it had exploded to 45 million views across every platform imaginable. The hashtag entitled Madison was trending worldwide. Her own Instagram followers, the same people who had worshipped her lifestyle just days before, turned on her viciously. She lost 1.8 million followers overnight. Her father, Marcus Sterling, issued a public statement expressing deep embarrassment and announcing he was cutting off Madison's access to her trust fund until she completed her community service and therapy. Her country club revoked the family membership. Brand sponsorships worth $200,000 annually were canceled immediately. Former friends distanced themselves publicly. UCLA students started a petition to have her removed from campus. The single phrase "whatever, boomer" became the most expensive words Madison Sterling would ever speak, costing her millions of dollars, her reputation, her social status, and teaching her the hardest lesson of her privileged life. That respect isn't optional, consequences are real, and no amount of daddy's money can save you from your own arrogance when you finally meet someone who refuses to be intimidated by wealth. Sophia Martinez's life transformed in the opposite direction. Her business exploded with orders from people wanting to support her. She made over $100,000 in profit within a month. She paid off all her family's debts, funded her brother's college education, and expanded her boutique with 2 new employees. Judge Judy's handling of the case became legendary, studied in law schools as the perfect example of holding wealthy defendants accountable, and the episode became the most watched in the show's entire history, proving that millions of people are hungry to see justice delivered to those who think privilege makes them untouchable.